Formerly known as Canton, is one of China's largest, a hustling metropolis on the Pearl River. It was the first place in China open to Western trade. And tonight, it continues that tradition as the host city to the first FIFA Women's World Championship soccer finals. From Tiani Stadium in Guangzhou, China. It's the FIFA Women's World Championship final for the M&M's Cup. It's the United States versus Norway. Everyone, I'm Randy Hahn, and welcome to China, and a truly historic occasion. For the first time in the history of American soccer, a U.S. team will play for a world championship. It's the United States against Norway for the first ever FIFA Women's Championship. With me is Rick Davis here in Guangzhou, China. And Rick, it's been a long time coming for the United States in soccer to finally get to this level. It must be an excited team of women getting ready to play.
Randy, not only an excited team of women playing here, but I think it's an excited country. People back in the United States are very, very excited about the results that the U.S. team has had thus far. I guess all of it would be for naught, though, if they don't go all the way, and certainly everybody's pulling for them to win tonight.
Rick, so far in the tournament, the United States is unbeaten. They are 5-0. In a nutshell, what have they done right?
Well, what they've done right is they've completely dominated the tournament. They've shown that they can score. They've shown that they can keep the ball out of the back of their net. If they can combine those two ingredients, play consistently, play a little bit the same way they did against the German team just the other night, I'm very confident that they'll come out on top here tonight.
Michelle Akers-Stahl, Karen Jennings, and April Heinrichs have been the stars, or among the stars for the United States. Who do we watch for with Norway, Rick?
Well, as far as Norway is concerned, you certainly got to keep your eye on Medellin. She's the player that's made things tick for that team. She's the equivalent of a Michelle Akers-Stahl. She's the equivalent of a Karen Jennings. She's the player that's going to be relied upon for the Norwegian team to score goals.
There is one interesting aspect to this final matchup. In the two prior games between these countries, Norway won both games. It makes for an interesting matchup here tonight. It's for the World Championship. It's the United States against Norway, and it's coming up here from China in just a moment. You're watching the Women's World Championship of Soccer on Sports Channel America. To Guangzhou, China. We're underway in a moment. It's the United States against Norway for the first ever Women's World Championship of Soccer. And with me is the head coach of the USA, Anson Dorrance. Anson, first of all, congratulations. No American soccer team, as you well know, has ever been in a world final. I know that you're facing that prospect now, but realistically, did you think it would come to this? Would it have been anything less than a success if you'd have played in the final?
Well, our ambition was to get here. Our ambition actually isn't finished yet. Our ambition is to win this thing. So, frankly, we'll be disappointed if we don't come out the winner. So, yes, we're happy to be here, but being here is not enough. We've got an aggressive group of personalities, and they're going to go after it.
Anson, you did so many things in preparation to peak yourself right now. You embarked on a very aggressive tour, then you rested for a while and got aggressive again. Are you peaking?
Well, I think we are. In fact, we've peaked through this tournament. We started out with some injuries and played some average moments in our Sweden game. We played some better moments in the next game, and each game it seems gotten better. So I'm excited about the direction we're going in. We're starting to peak at the right time, and I'm hoping everything falls in place today in the final.
Anson, I know coaches are always looking for a means of motivation, and I'm sure you're no exception. The fact that Norway has beaten you in the prior two games, is that something that you've brought up with your players?
Yeah, that's a factor, and another factor is, you know, we're doing this for all sorts of reasons. First of all, we're doing it for each other. This team's been together as a group for a long time, and so everyone's playing for each other. We're also doing it, obviously, for a group of people that have supported us and invested in us this year to show that, you know, if we make the investment in American soccer, it will pay off, that we're not second-class citizens in the world's game, and we can play it, and we're holding our banner, so we're all very excited about this match.
Good luck today.
Thank you very much.
The number to watch in particular, number 10, Linda Medalin. She is the top scorer for Norway as Pele works his way through the lineup and congratulates each and every one of these finalists for Norway. It's a tremendous accomplishment for them, as it is for the United States team. There's Pele greeting the referees. Referee tonight is from the Soviet Union, Vadim Zuk. And there is the world's greatest soccer player greeting these young women from across the United States who are about to play the biggest game of their lives. Never has an American team played for a world championship before. Not men's, not women's, not youth, not anything. Not until tonight here in China, and the United States is 80 minutes away, 2 40-minute halves from becoming the first American team to ever win a championship final. And Pele has finished with his pleasantries as we look at the American lineup. The starting lineup that is identical to that of the semifinal, in which the United States defeated Germany by a score of 5-2. Anson Dorrance going with exactly the same 11. He is allowed to dress all the remaining players that are on the roster, but still limited to make just 2 substitutions. Ricky Davis, this is a very special American soccer. It's been a long time coming.
Absolutely, Randy. A long time coming. Certainly the people back in the United States are incredibly proud of the women already.
The side of the field to our left, which the United States will open this game to.
Quite a time after that, actually just prior to this game, they said that they just never really got started. I think part of it was the acclimation of traveling so far to get here. The other aspect of it was that I don't think they quite expected the Chinese team to be that strong. So they certainly have rebounded quite well to make it to the final game after such a poor start. And I would expect to see them playing much better tonight than they certainly did in that game.
Following that loss, the Norwegians went undefeated the rest of the way in their group. In their quarterfinal, they beat Italy in another close game by a score of 3-2, as the Italians were one of the hardest countries coming into this 16-team competition. And then in the semifinals, Norway did away with Sweden by a score of 4-1 and rather easily handled the Swedes.
They did a fine job against the Swedish team. They ended up kind of falling into their mode and their style of play. That is that they can end up, you get a quick look at one of the top scorers for the American team, Karen Jennings. She's had an outstanding tournament, but as far as the Norwegian team is concerned, they just did a great job against Sweden, and they're going to certainly want to duplicate that tonight.
And we are underway as the flashbulbs flash here in Guangzhou, China. And a round of applause from the sellout crowd of 60,000 here in this southern province of Guangdong. Very close to Hong Kong is our location, just to the north in the People's Republic of China. And there is United States goalkeeper Mary Harvey kicking it into midfield. The United States in the white. And the United States, so that was actually right set for Norway kicking it upfield. States defending the goal to our left and attacking left to right. This is Shannon Higgins, number 3 for the USA. She is one of the spark plugs in the midfield, and we'll watch for her to create a lot of opportunities in the midfield for the forwards like Michelle Akerstall, Karen Jennings, and April Heinrichs, who is really a midfielder who plays more as a forward. Here is Jennings, and you hear the roar of the crowd come up. As all these games have been televised live here in China, they know who number 12 is. That's Jennings. They know who number 10 is, Akerstall, the 2 leading scorers for the United States.
And not only are they the 2 leading scorers of the team, but they both play such integral parts of helping this team be successful. Scoring goals is obviously one aspect of the game, but they tend to be both team leaders and have done an outstanding job in terms of motivating the other girls. And in many ways, in spite of their own personal success, they've also been very complimentary and gracious to the other players, attributing much of their success to the support of the team.
This is Ryden Seth for Norway. Seth coming off an injury in the semifinal. She was kicked in the face, and there was some question as to whether or not she would be able to play today, but obviously she recovered, as these teams have both had a 3-day rest since the semifinal at midweek, and now a ball out and a throw-in for Norway. There is no score. We are just underway here in the first half of the championship of this 1991 FIFA World Championship for women's soccer, the first ever held. And now this is number 10, Linda Medellin. Playing it over for Carlson. They work it far side, and that'll be cleared back into midfield for the United States. Akerstall was looking for it, unable to bring it in. Now Carla Werdenbach, number 4, had some trouble getting a beat on that ball, and out of the goal came Mary Harvey, and she'll hold for the USA.
An important first touch for Mary Harvey there, because she hadn't made contact with the ball thus far in the game, and it's important for goalkeepers to get themselves into the flow of play, if nothing else by making contact with that ball that initial first time.
Akerstall, number 10 from Florida, and a veteran of this national team, making her 51st appearance internationally for the United States in this game. She has 49 goals, almost a goal a performance pace, and it's cleared back into the midfield, where Worden has it again for the U.S. If occasionally you hear other voices in the background, there are 7 international telecasts of this game going out around the world, and we have one of the Asian countries next to us that is televising this country in this game in this region. Norway on the attack, and they have had the better of the play early on here. This is number 14 for the U.S., Joy Biefeld, playing it back into the midfield. Jennings unable to bring it under control. And likewise with Akerstall. And right now the United States perhaps a little bit nervous, Rick.
A little bit nervous. Anytime you get yourself into a championship game like this, no doubt about it, nerves are going to play a part of it. And in that aspect, certainly the Norwegian team has more experience in big games. So that in that, I think I might tip my hat a little bit to them. But I think once the American team, the American women get settled, I think they'll do a little bit better.
Mia Hamm, number 9, now for the U.S. Mia from Burke, Virginia, born in Selma, Alabama. She's only 19 years age. Talk about somebody who would be a little bit nervous. One of the youngest players in the tournament as the ball comes out of play near side for a throw in Norway. And there you see the colorful costumes of some of the fans here. There's a good number of Norwegian spectators on hand and several hundred from the United States. And Rick, they've been following this team all around China through not only the playoffs, but through the preliminary round as well.
And it's fantastic to see. Not only do we have fans down here, but the parents of many of the girls were able to make it down here to enjoy the tournament, and certainly they've been with them every step of the way.
Now the free kick for Norway coming from the near side. Annette England into the penalty area and headed back out again, and they will give it to Norway on another corner kick as it was cleared out by the United States. And we had a momentary Amy Biefeld staying down, but now she's back up. You see number 14 there taking her spot in the middle of the penalty area. What are they defensing here, Rick?
Well, here certainly for the United States team, they're matching up. Anytime you have a corner kick situation, a free kick set play situation, you want to match up with the other team as tight as you can.
That's Hagen into the box and up in the air. It looks like Warden getting there, and now breaking upfield is April Heinrich. Heinrich with good speed to center, but she's 1-on-3, plays it between the defenders, and it's kicked from behind by number 8, Stora, and Norway will control again, but that was a good counterattack on some good defensive play in the air by the U.S. defense.
Yeah, excellent counterattack, but at the same time, it's difficult to counterattack as a sole person. You really have to do your best to go forward.
Ball out of play, and we will pause. No score. The USA and Norway will be back in China in a moment. Randy Hahn and Rick Davis. We are at the World Champion for Women's Soccer at Tiani Stadium in Guangzhou, China, with the United States in white with the ball. Long ball to midfield, hammered right back the other way. This is Mia Hamm heading it up for Akerstall. She is bumped while in the air. Play goes on as the referee indicated a foul would have been given had the United States lost possession. Now they have, as it's cleared back to Ryden Seth.
Randy, the reason why the referee didn't blow the foul there is although a foul had been committed, the United States team maintained possession of the ball. And in soccer, you have a rule that they describe as an advantage, which means that rather than stop the play and potentially inhibit a team's opportunity to go forward and generate something on the attack, the referee allows play to go on instead of blowing the ball dead and having the team have to restart it with a free kick.
It's no surprise Norway is this far. This is another one of the countries that has a full-fledged women's league, although not full-fledged professional. There is organized women's soccer in Norway, countries like Germany as well, as the Northern Europeans and are quite advanced in the sport. And I suppose the United States in its own way has organized women's soccer as well, as many of these girls have come out of the collegiate program, and particularly North Carolina, where Anson Dorrance was and still is the head coach, having won 9 championships there, and now trying to win his first world championship as coach of the U.S. national team.
The bread and butter of all of soccer in the United States, certainly leading up to this level, it is the college game. We have an indoor league in the Major Soccer League, although there are only 7 teams in that league at this point. And then we have the Professional Outdoor League, which there are 9 teams. But certainly most of the players, if not all, actually work their way up to that particular level by coming through the college ranks.
Number 11 for Norway, Bertha Hegstad, who just threw in there, played at North Carolina for Anson Dorrance. Meantime, back the other way comes the United States. This is Julie Bowdy, number 11. Bowdy forced to the outside, trying to work it to Jennings. She gets a good bounce. Here's Karen Jennings, and she has good speed. Look at her go by the defense, but then it's for a throw in the United States. But we saw that burst of speed by Jennings, and that's the type of speed that can beat a defender, in that case a midfielder, and Karen just blew by her.
Karen has incredible speed and fantastic control while running with the ball at full speed. It's not only one asset to be able to run fast, but you have to be able to control the ball as you do that, and Karen has both of those qualities.
Trying to reach Jennings at the edge of the box. That will be rejected over the head of Carla Worden at center. Taken by Biefeld. And Biefeld with a searching pass, but that goes way overhead and into the control of right and set.
One of the things that the Norwegian team has shown us already, Randy, is that they know the United States team's strengths, and that is to get the ball to Karen Jennings, to get it to Michelle Akers-Stahl up front. One of the ways they work against that is by minimizing or shortening the field of play that the girls have to play in. In that case, the defenders all race forward, not really in the form of an offside trap, but by moving forward, it reduces the space the players have to work in, and thereby the long pass not really finding its target.
Biefeld on the turnover to April Heinrich. And that is turned back over again, and now for Norway is Annette Carlsen. She'll lose it. Heinrich playing it upfield. And scrambling play in the midfield right now. Carlsen comes up with it again. She'll play it out wide to the left. This is Hegstad. Hegstad crossing far post. She's got someone there, but it's too far for Hege Riise, number 9. Riise, another one of the young players for Norway, who's shown a tremendous ability in this tournament so far. The United States giving up the better of the play so far to Norway, but we are still early in this first half as it goes out for USA throw-in. We don't expect a low-scoring final. In fact, it has not been a low-scoring tournament, as you see João Havelange on the far right as he's just out of the pan of our camera there. He is the head of FIFA, the international governing body of the sport of soccer, and he held a news conference earlier today and was very, very pleased with the level of play, technically, also the organization here in China of this first ever Women's World Championship, and it bodes well for the sport and for this particular event, which will be staged again in another 4 years in 1995, and it's a site yet undetermined. Norway on the ball now as we are scoreless in the first half of this World Championship game. U.S. in the white as it comes up to April Heinrichs. She takes it left foot, slides it to the middle, looking for Jennings on the run. Now Akers-Stahl with the touch of the ball, but it's cleared back into the 18-yard box of Norway.
Randy, one of the things that we've already seen happening in this game has been that Norway is playing a whole lot better than Germany did. They're not allowing the United States team to establish tempo by moving the ball through the field, and in turn they're eliminating some of the layers of their defense by finding the seams, finding the gaps within the play, and then in turn sometimes playing the ball up high over the top.
A foul, and passing the ball, it was called on Medellin, as you see some of the American dignitaries there in the officials box here in China. Sloppy play by the U.S. in the midfield here, and now Medellin with it, fighting off the attempt to tackle by number 14, Joy Biefeld for the United States as it comes to the near side. And Hegstad will clear it all the way back to the goal. We say that it is expected to be high scoring because there have been so many goals scored in this tournament. Coming into this game, an average of 3.84 goals per game, a total of 96 overall in the 25 games played, and by international soccer standards, nearly 4 goals a game average is terrific.
Oh, it's fantastic, especially when you make comparisons to the men's game. Last World Cup in Italy in 1990, there were actually only a little over 1 goal per game scored.
Here's a chance for the United States now. Foudy 11 over to Jennings, and it's just kicked away. Excellent defense by number 8, Stora, for it comes out for throw in. Quickly tossed by Biefeld, back for Jennings. Here's Shannon Higgins, crossed to the box, looking for Akers-Stahl. A race for it now, and Jennings will let it go out, and we will pause. No score here in the first half in Guangzhou, China. It's the USA nothing and Norway nothing. Jennings on the throw-in as we're back underway here in the first half of this scoreless tie for the World Championship. And that might have been out there in the first 5 or so minutes, Rick Davis, I'm sure have long passed now, and the job of bearing down and winning the title is on the minds of both these teams.
Well, the nerves have certainly already gone at this point. Typically, you get nerves at the beginning of the game and at the very end of the game. If we get a look at on the very far end of the bench, the coach for the United States women's team, Anson Moran. One of the things that we see here is that the nerves will come to play late in the game if the score is tied, and a lot of times experience can come to play an important factor at that particular point. But yeah, at this stage of the game, the girls' nerves are gone, and now they're settling into their tempo and their style of play.
Catherine Zaborowski, number 2, standing back of the ball. She will take this free kick into the box. Up goes number 11, Hegstad, and just over the bar as she got everything she wanted on that one, just a little too high, but an excellent free kick opportunity for Norway. It will be a goal kick for the U.S.
Here we get a look at the replay on the free kick. It's simply ball to a player at the back post, and then it becomes a battle in the air. Air superiority, certainly in the offense end of the field for the Norwegian team, is something that I think that they'll have throughout the game. set plays and free kicks like that will be incredibly dangerous for the American team, simply because it allows the team to organize, it allows them an opportunity to run a set play, and in that case, utilize something that they have a little bit of an advantage on, and that is playing the ball out of the air up towards the goal.
Bertha Hegstad, who you saw there, was so pleased when Norway beat the United States in the 2 games stateside earlier this summer at New Britain, Connecticut, and Medford, Massachusetts, on the campus of Tufts University, a game we televised on Sports Channel. It's so emotional for her now, playing against many of her former teammates from North Carolina in this World Championship. She also gives them some insight into the type of game the USA plays. Norway in the red on the ball. We are scoreless in the first half of this final game. The final of 26 games, as you look at Ben Pellerud, the coach of the Norwegian side.
Here we got to see a little bit of a glimpse of one of the things that coaches typically do, and that is take notes. Rather than be able to communicate to their players during the course of the game, they take notes and then they bring up these points during halftime, which is one of the few opportunities that coaches in soccer have an opportunity collectively to address their players.
Bad distribution by the Norwegian goalkeeper. Now it is Heinrichs. Oh, and it's tackled off her foot and comes across. She'll throw it back in. Heinrichs, just a soft little throw over the head of Nyborg, number 5. This is Jennings cutting it back in the middle, looking for Foudy, not reaching her. And now Carlson trying to clear it. This one will come on goal, but an easy pickup for Ryden Set. That's Mia Hamm trotting back upfield. They list her as a midfielder or forward. A number of the midfielders from the USA have that ability to come forward. One of them, so is, of course, April Heinrich.
And we're seeing the goalkeeper for the Norwegian team, Seth, having a little bit of difficulty in kicking the ball out when the ball is in her hands. It's incredibly dangerous because defensively, your defenders typically kind of get the relaxed mode in their mind where they aren't concentrating on the flow of play because they expect the goalkeeper to certainly clear the last line of defense, and already we've seen twice her not make that.
Perhaps third time the charm. This time she gets it over the top. And up for her midfielder. Hegstad goes in hard. It comes back across the halfway line. And now it's cleared onto the Norwegian bench. And we will pause. No score in the first half. It's the USA and Norway. We'll be back in China in a moment. Randy Hahn and Rick Davis and Karen Jennings with the ball. Jennings working her way along the 18-yard box is kicked there by Stora, and we will have a free kick now for the United States and a first opportunity to see a dead ball situation and see how Anson Dorrance has diagrammed things out.
And Randy, as we see the replay here, Karen doing everything she can. She's beaten the defender, doing everything she can to stay on her feet. If they can bring back any of the magic that they had against the Taiwanese team, they scored 6 of their 7 goals on set plays. Here's a golden opportunity, a very, very dangerous place for a free kick to come from, because the defenders not only have to watch the ball, but they have to match up with the man.
The free kick into the mix, and Ryden Seth gets a hand on it. Headed back in by Hamm, but an offside flag comes up.
One of the things that the United States women attacking players, Michelle Akers-Stahl, Karen Jennings, and April Heinrich, will have to be aware of is Norway, once they clear the ball out defensively, they follow the ball up the field as we get to see the ball that was headed back towards the goal, which initiated the offside call from the referee because the Norwegian defenders had moved up the field with the ball. Off field, thereby, if you catch any of the American team forwards napping a little bit, you catch them offside.
We talk about Akers-Stahl, Jennings, and Heinrich so often. There's a reason why. Between the 3 of them, in their careers collectively for this team, they have scored 110 goals internationally. That is a remarkable total. And they've accounted for 18 of the 23 goals that the U.S. has scored in this tournament. The U.S. was, of course, the highest scoring team. And results like 7-0 over Taiwan and 5-0 over Brazil helped considerably in that effort.
One of the things in talking with Anson a little bit before the game is that he's a little concerned because the United States team hasn't really had that much of a test. The most difficult game that they played the entire tournament was their first one. And since then, most of the games have been relatively easy, whereas in the Norway team's case, it seems each and every game has been difficult.
We're in the first way through the opening 40 minutes of play. We play 40-minute halves in women's international soccer. The U.S. in the white and Norway in the red and scoreless. Karen Jennings in the semifinal had a quick hat trick as April Heinrich is all tied up in midfield, but they give advantage. Now Heinrich will battle to take advantage of that advantage as the United States keeps possession. She drives it off the leg of Carlson. Now Bowdy's trying to win it in midfield and gets it to Jennings. Jennings. And she's tripped up, but they say she took a dive, and Karen went down a little late there.
And the ball looked like it had been tipped away by the defender. We get a look at the big crowd here today.
Pass intended for Jennings. It comes through on the second effort, but she is all alone. Nice effort just to get the ball into a dangerous spot, but Hegstad will clear it out of play for a throw in for the United States.
One of the things that we're seeing a little bit in the offensive third of the field is that the forwards, the players that are on the receiving end of the crosses, aren't making those early runs. They aren't finding themselves open the way that they have in other games, partly because of the quality defense that the Norwegian team has put together.
Bad throw-in by the U.S. as it is stolen directly off the throw. Now Shannon Higgins poking it ahead for Jennings. That's headed back out. And Norway is defending this American team very well here in the first half. A no-look pass by Heinrich. She's upset with it as it's turned back the other way by Norway. Bowdy across to this side. Joy Biefeld working it up for Akerstall, who has been rather silent so far. And now a foul. And the United States will get another free kick as Mia Hamm is brought down. And there's some Norwegian and American fans intermingled.
I was going to say, guess where they're from. On the replay here, we get to see just a simple foul. Contact as the ball moves away, and referee appropriately calls a foul. Tripping happens to be one of the direct free kicks that results off of a foul. It simply means that a player can shoot the ball directly into the goal without it actually having to touch another player on the field.
Now from 34 yards, the United States on a free kick. Shannon Higgins looking for Akerstall in the box. He gets up and scores!
Air superiority in both ends of the field. The United States team has it in the offensive third. Norway has it in their offensive third. There we get to see Michelle Akerstall show why she is so dangerous. She can score off the ball being on the ground, and in this case we see her jump high in the air, redirect the ball at the goal. What a fantastic goal. Norway never makes the adjustment to the extra American players over there. And Michelle finds herself with a little bit of space to run in and heads the ball into a pass to help the goalkeeper for the Norwegian team.
Back to the action, the Norwegians with an opportunity, and it's cleared away by Mia Hamm. Right back comes Norway, but Higgins will poke it ahead for Jennings. Here's Akerstall flicking it up and looking for Heinrich. This will go all the way back to Ryden Seth for Norway. But Michelle Akerstall, the leading scorer in this tournament, gets her 9th goal here and the 50th of her career with the United States national team. It comes in her 51st game internationally. United States leading 1-0 as we get a whistle and a foul against Heinrich.
Here we get to see another look on the free kick. Norway never made the adjustment to putting an extra player back there because the American team had 3 players forward. And then when Michelle ended up going there, she met the 4th player, and so they were a man down. And Michelle had a little bit of space to run into and beat the Norwegian player to the ball and headed it into the goal.
Akerstall, the all-time leading scorer. She was the U.S. Soccer Player of the Year, both this year and last year in 1990. Been with this team since '85, and you saw why right there. She perfectly placed that free kick into the near side of the goal. Cleared by the United States out. And a throw-in for Norway. And we are still in the first half. Pele at the news conference earlier today was talking about how pleased he was that the leading scorer of the tournament, Michelle Akerstall, wore number 10 because that was his number, and Pele led a few tournaments himself.
Yeah, he did need to be a player that wasn't low on the scoring end of the game, that's for sure.
So Norway now playing a catch-up game. But as we stress in these women's events, they are often very wide open games, although the United States has defensed very well. We've seen some high-scoring games in some of the other groups, and not always by just one team doing all the scoring. A lot of 3-2 games and 5-3 games. So it would be unlikely to see a 1-0 game. But one never knows. There's the referee. You time they're Madame Zouk, but both linespeople, as we call them now, are women. And that's a first in international soccer. We had an all-time first in the consolation game yesterday, as the ball's out on a foul. The consolation game between Germany and Sweden. A female referee, and that's the first time ever in a FIFA championship.
And Randy, she did a fantastic job. She was out there controlling the game, which is what you like to see the officials do. And then she did equally as well as I think any man would have been able to do. And it's something that's nice to see in terms of the growth of the sport worldwide.
In all, there are 6 female linespersons as you look at Akerstall, the goal scorer, and 1 female referee. And they hope, if the quality of female referees is there in the FIFA system, to someday fully integrate this tournament with all female officials. Norway on the ball and trailing 1-0 as the United States now playing with the lead. And Rick, how do they play differently with the lead?
Well, at this particular stage in the game, Randy, it's really difficult. It's too early on to try and protect the lead because you still have, I would guess about this point, about 65 minutes of action left. Typically what you try and do is to make sure that you control the ball and simply work it before you end up turning it over by trying to create a scoring opportunity with a difficult long pass. On the other hand, as the game wears on, then you can go ahead and fall into a situation where you can go ahead and control the ball a little bit more and not worry about going forward.
Thrown back into Higgins. Now Shannon with it in midfield for the United States. He tried to reach Akerstall with that pass, not quite enough on it. It came to Catherine Zaborowski, number 2. Now to the far side as Norway get it up to Hegstad. Hegstad trying to head it back down that wing, but now it's Carla Worden. Worden, if you saw the semifinal, the anchor of the back line defensively for the U.S. She went to Richardson High School in Dallas, Texas, a degree in psychology. And she's doing more than psyching out the forwards in this tournament. She's just playing some tough defense as we have a foul in the midfield, a free kick. And now we may get a caution here, or will we? I think the ball was too far upfield for Akerstall to be called for encroachment, so they'll bring it back. Now pushed to the far side. This is Annette Eglund. And that will go off Jennings out, and Norway will get the advantage of another few steps, and we will pause. It's the United States 1, Norway 0. We're in China. We'll be back in a moment. Randy Hahn and Rick Davis. We are at Tianyi Stadium in Guangzhou, China. It is 1-0, the U.S. leading this World Championship of Women's Soccer. The final game, as they have taken a 1-0 lead on Norway on the goal by Michelle Akerstall. And the ball on a play now, and Norway will throw it back in.
One of the things, Randy, that we're seeing happen here in the course of the game, and I'm not quite sure it's necessarily because of the goal by the United States team, is that Norway seems to have lost its tempo. They seem to have lost their way a little bit. They are playing the ball through the seams of the defensive layers that the American team sets up. They kind of tend to launch the ball high and in the air without much direction or purpose, and certainly if they're to get back into this to settle down.
Jennings, who had the hat trick in the semifinal win over Germany, and that's tackled out for a throw-in. The Norwegians occupying one section here of the stadium, and the Americans all concentrated in another. Here is the chance for the United States now as Akerstall moves into the box looking for a pass, but unable to get it there is Heinrichs, and it's back the other way.
What a good, solid defensive play there.
Worden with a rare mistake, and now Norway comes forward. But quickly, look at Jennings come from one end of the field to the other to help defensively and help that mismatch as Norway had a 2-on-2 break there after Worden totally fanned on an attempt to drive that ball up the field. And that's where fitness comes in, and Jennings showed it there coming from one end to the other. A good sprint. Dorrance has this team really prepped for this final. They went through kind of a roller coaster year where they went up as far as their intensity and games played and touring, and then took a long rest and then geared up again with an intensive training camp in Florida before coming here. Now they seem to be at the top of their game.
And Randy, it was really nice to see because coming into this particular tournament, one of the criticisms that many of the teams had was that they weren't allowed to prepare. Certainly the United States Soccer Federation got behind this team and really gave them top-notch preparation.
Bounty with a nice tackle. I say they trained in Florida. I think they trained in North Carolina.
Yeah, actually they did train in North Carolina.
It seemed like Florida. It was summer in North Carolina, which is rather Florida-like as we have a tackle and a foul against the United States.
Replay on the foul here is just simply swinging for the ball and missing. catching the foot of number 7 Hagen for the Norwegian team.
There's Tone Hagen. He's on there 27 years of age. Fairly veteran Norwegian squad as it states speed. The long free kick and into the area and a goal. It's off the post and in, and we are tied.
Randy, a happy Norwegian team there, but a little bit of a costly mistake by the American goalkeeper, number 22, Mary Harvey. Here we get to see the free kick simply launched high in the air. Plenty of time for players defensively, as well as the goalkeeper to come out and get it. She comes out, but then stops. Doesn't go up. As we get another look on the replay here, watch how Mary Harvey doesn't even jump. If you're coming out of the goal that far, you have to get the ball. Your goal is empty, unprotected, and there we saw the ball dribble in.
We are tied, but the United States on the run again. It is Karen Jennings to Heinrichs. And now Higgins, and that'll be headed out. I think we're probably going to get one more look at the, but it seemed to me that Harvey ran into the back of Carla Worden, and it kind of startled her, and she never went over top her defender, which she needs to do in that spot, and punch that ball away. But Worden and Harvey seem to collide right inside the 6-yard box.
And Randy, rather than necessarily focus all of the blame on Harvey, one of the things that you're taught as a defender, as we get a replay on the goal here, nice angle here, yeah, absolutely, she does run into the back of Worden. One of the things that you're taught as a defender is when your goalkeeper comes out, somebody has to get back into the goal, and none of the American players did that.
And now a foul as Jennings was working her way down the right side, and she gets a word or two from the referee as some frustration, no doubt, begins to manifest itself a little bit after a goal like that, which clearly came from a mistake. And there's Jennings taking down the Norwegian defender.
A little bit of over-enthusiasm there. Run right up the back of the player, and hey, if you get lucky, maybe the referee has a foul, and you're off and running on a breakaway.
Here's Jennings now off a loose ball. She'll hurry to keep this in and does get it. Now the cross, and you know who's there, number 10. It'll come over to the other side. This is Lilly, and up high goes Ryden Seth just ahead of Akerstall.
One of the things that good teams do, as we get to see the tail end of the play where the ball ended up coming to Christine Lilly, she tries to chip it over the goalkeeper, it looks like. Or certainly maybe, as we saw Michelle enter the picture there at the end, get it to her at the back post. Good teams always seem to have a player on the receiving end of the ball. Even if a pass, in that case, that was meant for Michelle Akerstall gets by her, Christine Lilly is on the other end of it to still take an opportunity at the goal.
Number 10, Medalin, Linda Medalin from Norway, who scored the goal moments ago, has scored in every game of the tournament so far. She is to Norway what Akerstall is to the USA, and the two top scorers do their thing here in the first half. We have ourselves a championship game. We sensed it might be like this because of Norway's dominance in the last two meetings, although in those two games, both Akerstall and Heinrichs were out with injury. So far, it hasn't seemed to factor in as Norway has played very well. Cross into the box. That didn't have much of a chance of reaching anyone. As it's picked up by Mary Harvey, who has to settle herself down, Rick.
She has to settle herself down. We'll see her hold the ball a little bit, not only to allow her team to move forward, but for her to get her confidence back. It's so important for a goalkeeper to play with confidence. The type of goal that she gave up erodes that incredibly, and she does need to settle down, and it'll be something difficult because Mary only has 6 full international appearances coming into this game.
Bad ball by Schiefeld as the U.S. defense is a little shaken, too. There's such a relationship there between goalkeeper and defenders. Worden is so upset with colliding with Harvey, and then you saw Biefeld play a bad ball, and they've all got to settle themselves down a little bit, and I'm sure Anson Dorrance will address that at halftime as we approach that. We are in the first half, and it is 1-1. Akerstall upended. Now the ball lifted high in the air by Zamoraski. Kicking it off. Hickstad out, and we will take a break. 1-1. Norway and the USA will be back in China in a moment. The throw in. This is Bertha Hegstad. Back for Zamoraski. He'll play it back even further for Espeseth, number 4. Field spreads out here as the Norwegians knock it from one side to the other. Beating the United States defensively, Rick, is obviously one of the goals of this Norwegian team, particularly the middle of the field where the United States bottles things up very well and tries to contain the other team, really keep them away from that 18-yard box altogether with some good tight marking in the midfield.
Yeah, tight marking in the midfield, and as I mentioned earlier on, layers of defense. When they lose the ball, the forwards form the first line of defense. Then your midfield, then your second row of midfielders, and then ultimately your defenders, with Carla Worden's very end of it. Once again, I think their local people here are a little confused between Tony DeChico and Hanson Dorrance in terms of who the coaches for the American team.
DeChico is one of the assistant coaches. Dorrance, of course, the head coach, and in every telecast we have seen here in China, they have misidentified those two. I know that the United States soccer people have gone to great lengths to try and change that, but sometimes something gets lost in the translation. Perhaps Hanson Dorrance ought to grow a mustache like Tony's and he'll get more recognition.
I think what he's got to do is put on a practice, because Tony wears the nice, good-looking United States team warm-up, and I think a lot of the people here are fooled as we get a look at the coach of the Norwegian team.
They all have the same tracksuit. How would you know? Here's Jennings. And a good job defensively there by Goodenheimer. And now a foul in midfield. One of the other assistant coaches is Lawrence Gregg for the United States, too. Chico really focusing mostly on the goalkeepers, and I know that he'll be talking to Mary Harvey at halftime, too. Probably saying, yeah, you could have done that better, but let's win the second half.
Absolutely. I kind of tend to be a person that likes to put things in perspective. And if somebody would have said to this team coming into this tournament that you're going to be playing in the final game and be tied after about 25 minutes in the first half, regardless of what the score was, be it 1-1, 0-0, or 5-5, I'm sure the team would have been pleased just to know that.
Here's Akerstall as she lopes down the left wing and works her way past the defense. Now she holds up and waits for support, launching a shot, and that'll go wide as Akerstall tried to do it all alone from 25 yards out.
And such a difficult thing to do there. There you see her catching her breath. One of the signs of fatigue that players do is they put their hands on their hip. And Michelle there huffing and puffing after making such a strong run from the midfield part of the field. It's incredible that she was even able to shoot at that point.
And now the free kick for Norway. 1-1 our score. Goals by Michelle Akerstall, first for the United States off a free kick from Shannon Higgins. And then Linda Medalin for Norway came back with a header for the Norwegian side, and now a foul, and now a goal against Medalin, number 10.
Good, solid, aggressive play by the offensive player there. Unfortunately, just maybe a little bit too aggressive, getting whistled for a foul.
Talk about the grass they grow here in China, Rick. It's not typical turf that we saw perhaps at the World Cup last year in Italy.
Yeah, very, very different type of grass. Very different than what we see in most of the United States. And in looking at the players here, I suspect it's different than what we see in most of Europe, because all of the players are having a little bit of trouble picking out what types of shoes to wear, and they all seem to be slipping a little bit.
And there is a foul. Zaborowski running in to, I'm not sure who that is. Foudy? Yes, it is. Julie Foudy down, and she got a leg up in the chest area, and she's all right. Shakes it off. And Julie Foudy from Mission Viejo, California. Shows a little toughness there. She's playing in her 32nd international match. Look at that.
Well, I'll tell you, they are taking no prisoners here. They say that one of the nice things about women's soccer is the finesse and the beauty with which they play, but anybody says that they don't play in a physical fashion as well, couldn't have seen that last play.
Medalin is playing very well in this first half, and she just created a turnover in Norway's favor there, but she was late to get back up, and she got a ball back right there from the midfield, and she wasn't ready for it. Often fans watching will see a forward down like that and be critical. Often they just need to catch a breath and take a moment of rest too. They do a lot of running up there on the forward position.
Absolutely, they catch their breath, and sometimes there's a little bit of deception to it, where they'll kind of sneak their way along the ground, act like they're tired and they're not going to get up, and before you know it, they spring back up, the balls come to them, and they're off on their way towards the goal.
1-1 our scores. Norway sets to throw it in. Over the head of Hegstad. Higgins with kind of a no-look pass. Bowdy after, trying to wiggle her way through the defense. And now here's Hegstad. Nice move by Hegstad around Mia Hamm. Now goes wide with it, and it's headed away. Getting there was Linda Hamilton, sending it to the far side, and it's out for a throw-in.
Randy, a case there where Hegstad won too many touches. In that particular case, if she could have found the player out there on the right wing a little bit quicker, much better opportunity. As it was, by using the extra touches, defensively the United States was able to make the adjustment and therefore get a defender over there to clear the ball out.
Drop to the front of the box, and Worden will make sure it gets no further. Nice touch of the ball back to the edge of the box. And now crossed off of Worden, out of play, and a corner kick for Norway.
A golden opportunity, Randy. Both goals in this game have come as a result of set plays. Corner kick is the ultimate set play. Here is something that teams actually spend a great deal of time practicing. And as we mentioned earlier on in the broadcast, air superiority is something that the Norwegian team has shown that they have at this point in the game.
Into the box, a deflected ball. These are dangerous. Cut back in for Hegstad, and that'll be rejected. On the run is Heinrichs from a defensive position. She'll just knock it downfield. I suppose it could be argued that the penalty kick is the ultimate set play.
Not a whole lot of deception or runs, or for that matter, other players involved in that particular situation. It's a one-on-one with the goalkeeper from 12 yards away.
Hammered right back toward the American end again. And this will be cleared by Biefeld and come out of play for a throw-in for Norway. And we are nearing the latter stages of this first half of play. 1-1 our score, and there was the whistle. And that is the end of the first half. And a mistake cost the United States a goal down in their end. Rick Davis, all in all, your assessment of the opening 40 minutes.
Well, so far, I think for both teams, they have to go into the locker room feeling pretty comfortable and happy with the way the game's gone. Both teams ended up giving up a goal off of a set play. Both teams have, at different times during the course of the first half, tried to implement or impose their style on the game. At one point, Norway had the control of the play early on. The United States team rebounded. So I think both teams need to regroup, come back out in the second half as strong as they can.
At the end of the first half, it's the United States 1 and Norway 1 from the World Championships in China. You're watching the Women's World Championships of Soccer on Sports Channel America. Back at Tianyi Stadium in Guangzhou, China, we are at the half with the United States and Norway in a 1-1 for this World Championship game. Going to get a look first, Rick Davis, at the American goal scored by the all-time leading American goal scorer, Michelle Akers-Stahl.
And she shows why she's the all-time leading scorer. Not only can she score the ball when it's on the ground, but here we get to see her score off a cross in the air. Pass coming in from out on the flank from number 3, Shannon Higgins. Michelle jumps in the air. What a powerful direction on the head, heading it into the corner of the goal. Nothing that the Norwegian goalkeeper can do, number 1 step.
9th goal of the tournament for Akers-Stahl. That made it 1-0 USA. But then a mistake by the United States goalkeeper Mary Harvey resulted in the goal by Medellin, the top scorer for Norway.
A little bit of a mistake, but I think a mistake made collectively by the team defensively, because when Mary Harvey came out of the goal, the defender should have realized that she was coming out of the goal and got somebody back. Here on the replay, we get to see Mary colliding with one of her defenders, her most deep defender, number 4, Carla Worden, and she never gets to go up for the ball. And then we get to see number 10, Medellin, head the ball-protected net, a little bit fortunate because the ball bounced in off the post.
So Medellin, who has scored in every game of the tournament, gets one again here in the final. And that's where we are at the half. The United States 1 and Norway 1. And this has been the Budweiser halftime. There's a look at some of the gathered here at Tianyi Stadium in Guangzhou, China, as we await the start of the second half. Players coming out onto the field now. There's some of the Norwegian and American fans getting set for the final 40 minutes of this World Championship. It's the USA 1, Norway 1. We'll be back in a moment. Randy Hahn and Rick Davis back at Tianyi in Guangzhou, China, in the province of Guangdong. We are just north of Hong Kong in the south part of this populated country indeed. 1.3 billion people in the country of China, 65 million alone here in this province, 60,000 in this jam-packed stadium. It's 1-1. We're at the half and about to kick off the second half. That's Michelle Aker-Stahl. She has the lone goal in the first half of the United States. And as we get set to start, Rick, all in all, not a great first half for the United States.
Not a great first half. Certainly nothing like what we saw them do against the German team. First half, they were all over them. Germany never seemed to get into the flow of the game. Norway, on the other hand, they already have. And now what they've got to do is start this half like it's a 0-0 tie, albeit it's 1-1, and simply try and reinstill their dominance on the game as they had hoped to do in the first half.
United States in the white and defending the goal to our right, attacking right to left. This is Ryden Seth, the goalkeeper for Norway. And Seth will deliver this half the length of the field. And cleared back now for Carla Worden for the U.S. Worden working it up to midfield, looking for Aker-Stahl, but Zaborowski beats her to the ball. Now Foudy pokes it ahead for Higgins, and again, good play by the midfield for Norway. Now a long pass ahead for Bertha Hegstad. Hegstad has it tackled out by Worden, and a corner kick for Norway.
Good play, good smart play there by both the players. Worden tackling the ball out of bounds, allowing the United States team to get set up for the corner kick. For the Norwegian team, Hegstad simply jumping over Worden, allowing her to kick the ball out, and let her team get forward and have a set play off of the ensuing corner kick.
Tona Hagen, number 7, with the corner kick now for Norway. It curls toward goal, and Harvey, a good job there to bat it away. Volley comes back through the box, but only about to the top of the penalty kick spot and rejected back into the midfield. And that was good to see Harvey get up and confidently punch that ball away.
Confidently punch the ball away and punch it a good bit of a distance away, therefore not allowing the other team to get another scoring opportunity out of it.
Talking to some of the girls before this game, April Heinrich says that Germany was really the team they feared most coming into this tournament. But the fact that Norway had beaten them twice was also a wake-up call, as it's kicked out for a corner kick again for Norway, this time from this side. And really, it's almost, I think, to the USA's advantage to have a tough opponent like Norway in the final. It didn't allow them to let down after their very impressive semifinal win.
No, it doesn't let them let down, and it makes them realize that they're in a little bit of a dogfight here. The United States team isn't worse for the wear the way that the Norwegian team is, so maybe it'll work in their favor as the game wears on.
Here's the corner now from this side. Zaborowski bending it toward goal, and it could come back. From our angle, it initially looked like it could be headed up top corner of the net, but that came right back out again for another corner.
Boy, I think Hansen's got to be just climbing out of his seat there on the bench. Norway putting the ball right in the front of the goal, trying to get a player to head it goal bound.
Zaborowski again with the left foot corner, this time out to the midway part of the 18-yard box, and this will come all the way back out again. Sent right back in by Tina Svensson. And now kicked upfield. And this will be a race to get to it, and this will go out for a throw-in for Norway. So the United States gets out of a jam there with 3 straight corner kicks against in a span of a couple of minutes, and that's something you'd like to try and avoid, but at least they did get out with it. We are tied 1-1 now early in the second half of this World Championship game. If you've joined us late, no American soccer team, men's or women's, has ever played a World Championship until this game here in China. And there's a lot riding on it, not just for these women, but for United States soccer in general. It's a good physical play, and we have a Norwegian player down. It is Bertha Hegstad. Play goes on as they work it up into the United States zone. And the Norwegians with possession as Hegstad is still down and hurt. They will likely try and clear this out now and just kill the clock here as Carlson gets to it, and she'll kick it out as Bertha Hegstad finally does pick herself up at the moment that Carlson kicks it out. Isn't it always that way?
On replay there, you just see her go tumbling to the ground, coming down like a house of cards, crashing to the ground. Obviously not a dangerous play in terms of the United States tackling the ball and creating danger for her, but she simply tripped and hit the ground.
And while we have an injury timeout here for Hegstad, we will pause. It's the USA 1, Norway 1. We'll be back in China in a moment. Eddie Hahn with Rick Davis, and they are trying to get the wave going, it looks like, here in China. And for whatever reason, they are very, very appreciative here of the trainers whenever they come on the field. A moment ago, the trainer for Norway racing onto the field to attend to Bertha Hegstad, and they gave the trainer her round of applause here. They take great joy in that. Listen to them.
It's kind of funny the way that the fans here in China have responded to all of the game, but very, very pleasant people to play in front of. They applaud almost anything that's a good play, but they're still trying to get that wave going.
They'll get it going here in this stadium of 60,000, and it is packed. And here's April Heinrichs for the U.S. Heinrichs with a good battle on her hands from Tone Hagen. And Norway is playing some exceptional defense in this game, Rick. They are matching the U.S. step in that part of the game.
Randy, when you play defense, you like to think in terms of getting numbers around the player with the ball, and Norway has done that perfectly.
Ball into the box, and a try on the bicycle kick there, but that sails high and wide. Good effort nonetheless there by Bertha Hegstad, who is just recovered from that nasty tumble she took in the midfield.
A little bit of wishful thinking there by Bertha Hegstad, because if you're going to pull a bicycle kick off, the ball, when you make contact with it, has to be higher than your head. You've got to be able to get your head down below it. Therefore, as we get a look at the president of soccer worldwide, FIFA João Havelange, on the replay here, watch how her head is still above the ball. There's no chance. If she hits that goal bound, she gets hit in the face with the ball.
Perhaps inspired by the presence of Pele, who could execute a bicycle kick about as well as anybody I've ever seen.
And by the way, if anybody tells you that it doesn't hurt to do a bicycle kick, they're not telling you the truth.
We'll check with Pele at the post-game reception. No ball here. Zaborowski pushing it wide to the far side for Hegstad, and she comes up lame again, clutching her left leg. Play scrappy here in the opening stages of this second half. We're tied at 1 as Akerstall is all tied up on the near sideline, and in her effort to extricate herself, kicks at Tina Svensson, and Svensson didn't like it all that much.
I think Tina was saying that as we see the pass coming into Michelle, clearly she's fouled as the ball rolled by both of them. But now watch Michelle's strong. We didn't get to see it. As Michelle's getting up off the ground, I believe it's the old knee making contact with face. And Svensson certainly wasn't pleased with that one bit.
The periodic roar you hear now is as the wave comes around here. And although many people seem to have other stories about it, from what I can tell, the wave started at the World Cup a number of World Cups ago, long before it ever came to the States. I believe it was in, I guess it would have been in Germany, perhaps in 1974. This is Biefeld coming out. I'll pick that Lily. And they're enjoying themselves here in China. It's Saturday night in Guangzhou. People are out and partying.
This town is loving every bit of this World Championship. They have totally taken each and every team into their fold, accepted them as one of their own, and just so enjoyable to be around. The Chinese people as a whole are so pleasant. It's just so much fun to see and enjoy.
Here's April Heinrichs now for the United States. The crisp tackle there, administered by Stora, knocks that ball out. Heinrichs quick to throw it in. That's a sneaky little throw in as she tried to work it to Julie Foudy, and it goes out again. And now the United corner kick.
Good run by Julie there, because rather than run in front of the defender where the defender would have the opportunity to see her, she tried to sneak in behind her. And as it was, the defender had to kind of make a desperation stab at the ball with her foot to kick it out of bounds. But it does result in a great scoring opportunity for the United States team, because here is a corner kick, yet another set play where we've seen the two previous goals in this contest both be scored off of set plays.
Karen Jennings to take this corner kick. It was Higgins who set up the Akerstall goal on the earlier free kick. And it is Akerstall getting up, and the ball bouncing free. A shot wide. As Joyce Biefeld, or rather Christine Lilly, had it on her right foot, turned around. And I think she just had to release that before really knowing what she was shooting at. It did deflect wide for another corner, however.
Boy, Randy, Norway making a cardinal mistake. If some of your defenders are going to run forward, the problem is the ones that stay back will put players onside. And there, Christine Lilly ended up being the recipient of put onside by defenders staying in the goal. As it was, she wasn't able to direct her shot at the goal, but if you're going to come running out of the goal or out of your defenseman in the field, all defenders have to come out.
Let's watch Jennings again now on the corner. Akerstall, and that deflects picked off an American wide. It hit Lily. If she gets out of the way, it had a chance.
Michelle Akerstal, she can hit a ball a ton. Ball came to her on that particular case where she had very little time to prepare. Going off the head of a defender for Norway, drops down at her feet, and bang! She rips away at it, and unfortunately, Christine Lilly, unable to get out of the way, and deflects the ball out of bounds, and results in a goal kick for the Norway team.
1-1 the score, as you see there, Ryden Seth, the Norwegian keeper. She got a little help on that last sequence from Christine Lilly, who deflected the U.S. shot. Good work in the air there by April Heinrichs. You saw number 2 get up high. Now headed back, Higgins in the air. It stays in the air, finally coming down to Akerstal. She tried to deliver it to Jennings, too fast or too far. And now Norway with possession again. Nice back heel pass, but tracked down there by Julie Foudy. There are 50 nations in the world that play organized women's soccer. 16 were qualified for this tournament. We're down to the final 2, the U.S. and Norway. Here's Jennings, her good work down the wing. She has 2 defenders on her, though, and does not get the call for the foul, and delivers a message as she gestures strongly toward the referee, and Karen better settle down. Here she comes again down the right side. Jennings with Akerstal with her. Jennings will take it deep to the end line, cuts it middle, up goes Heinrichs and Foudy, and that will glance off Foudy back into the midfield. Higgins will launch a prayer, but her left-footed effort is high and over the end line, and a goal kick now for Norway.
Boy, if the United States team could get Karen Jennings alone, as we see here on the replay, by herself, one-on-one against a player, she's going to beat that player almost every single time. There, the cross into the middle. Norway able to clear the ball out defensively. Shannon Higgins with the follow-up shot, which really was a prayer at best, because moving away from the goal, so difficult just to get the ball on target. But Karen Jennings, boy, if they can get her one-on-one, the United States team is going to be looking a whole lot better as this game wears on.
Norway in the red with the pass. This is Risa, number 9, pushing it wide to Hegstad, and that'll go off. I believe Higgins back there and out of play, and now Norway with another corner kick. And if this were to come down to corner kick count, which some of the way tied games should end, Norway would be way ahead right now. This will be their 5th or 6th corner kick of the game.
Yeah, the United States team showing the importance of keeping the ball out of your goal, especially against a stingy defensive team like Norway. They've got all 11 players back inside of the penalty area.
Here then is Hagen. Dangerous corner, and Harvey got up again, knocked that away. Now it's loose in the box. A battle for it, and it'll be cleared by Foudy. And now a race to keep it in play. And Heinrichs will send it out of play over the near side, and that's the difference there between it going corner kick and throw in. And that was a good heads-up play by Heinrichs to race to that ball. But Mary Harvey getting up as well, as we see a couple of the Norwegians stretching out and warming up on the track portion of the stadium here. Now the throw in from the near side as Zaborowski prepares to deliver it. He'll toss it short. Taken there by Risa into the box. Off ahead back out to Heinrich. He tries to work it up for Akerstal, who had a Norwegian defender wrapped around her. That was Gro Espeseth. Had a hold of the jersey, and now Akerstal is going to get a yellow card.
Now, I'm surprised Michelle was the one to get the yellow card on that particular play, because she was the player that got fouled off of the ball. Ball not even near where she and number 4 Espeseth were. And Michelle must have retaliated verbally, if not physically, thereby finding herself in the referee's book, getting a yellow card, which if she gets a second one at this point in the game, she's out. What a loss that would be to the United States team.
Worden now on the free kick. And that was an obvious set play, as Heinrichs made a run from the center before that kick was ever delivered. And the ball was clearly intended for her, but Norway able to clear it out.
April, I think, doing a little bit of intimidation play there, trying to intimidate the defender into allowing to get past her.
Here's Worden. Up high, Foudy, nice job to the right side, trying to work it to Mia Hamm. That's rejected. Now it's Hegstad. And nice cut job in front by Biefeld. And Joy just came in and cut in front of Hegstad. Now up to Akerstall. Akerstall to Mia Hamm. Hamm cuts it back inside. Now the sliding tackle. Akerstall trying to drive it toward goal for Jennings. We will get a foul now.
And the accident was offside. Karen Jennings, as well as April Heinrich, both had kind of crept in behind the defenders. April waving her arm at the linesman, telling him her opinion of the particular play there. But the way that the rule is described is that you are not allowed to be closer to the goal than 2 players from the other team at the time the ball is passed. In that case, both Karen and April sneaking in behind that last defender.
Under 25 minutes left in regulation. And should there the need, we would go to an overtime format, 2 10-minute halves, somewhat different from the men's overtime format where 2 15-minute halves are played in a final. And should it still be tied after that, we would go to penalty kicks. Right now it's 1-1. And again, we want to indicate that some of the voices that you may hear that may be unfamiliar to you in the background are some of our Asian colleagues who are broadcasting this game throughout China and throughout the Asian region. One of the 7 telecasts around the world of this game, also going to England, Germany, several to Norway, 2 different networks televising it back to that country. Sweden and Germany also carrying this game back in their respective nations as the Women's World Championship of Soccer is gaining reputation in a hurry, this being the first ever event held, and certainly not the last. The next one coming up in 1995. And a lot of speculation, Rick Davis, that the next one of the Norwegian nations, or perhaps a combination of a Norway, Sweden, Denmark bid.
I think actually the way FIFA looks at this is that this being the first one, they're as pleased as can be with the way it's turned out. Now with the second one, where the expectation will be greater in terms of the reception locally as well as internationally, what better place to put it than to a team and a country that has really been one of the shining stars in the women's game thus far worldwide, and then to put it into Norway.
Obviously, the United States would someday be an excellent site for this Women's World Championship, but it's unlikely that it would come just a year after the Men's World Cup, which of course will be in the United States in 1994. Some rough action on the near sideline as Christine Lilly upended on the throw-in. April Heinrichs thought it was going to come to the United States, but she is mistaken. As Espeseth is over there to toss it in. That'll go back to Carla Worden, and she delivers it to the halfway line. Headed high and back the other way. Lilly, and she descends it into the Norway zone.
Randy, I can't help but get the feeling in watching the second half of this game here that both teams, as if they didn't have it before, have discovered a mutual respect for one another. And their passes don't seem to have the confidence, don't seem to have the purpose that we saw in the first half, where there was more purpose and confidence in them going forward.
Higgins, and she played that behind Akerstall. Michelle looked as if to say, Karen Jennings, it's yours, but Karen was marked. And now it's back on the U.S. defense and cleared to Mary Harvey in goal for the USA. 1-1 is our score. Both the goals came in the first half. For the United States, it was Michelle Akerstall with her 9th goal of this tournament and her 50th internationally for the United States. And retaliating for Norway, not too long after that, was number 10 for the Norwegian, Medalin. Linda Hamilton playing it for Worden. Now a long searching pass, and Worden just hammers that back out again over the near side for a throw-in.
Randy, if the United States team is going to get something going here, they need to get their forwards to be mobile. Last few minutes, certainly most of this half, we've seen the forwards all stationary at the time that the ball's played. In the first half, the difference was that they were in motion when the ball was being passed, therefore much more difficult to defend. If they're stationary at the time the ball's passed, defenders can stand with them and have an equal chance to get the ball.
Akerstall fooling everyone with that pass back when she had someone breaking up the wing. Lilly was breaking, and she played it back toward Cloudy. Now it's turned over, and here's Medalin. And she is hammered by Worden, and a foul given. And this will be a good free kick opportunity for Norway, but right now Medalin is shaken up after that kick from number 4 Worden. That was a message.
Yeah, that was a message. That's the type of play that your leading defender, in that particular case on the replay, Carla just simply going right at the player, going to stop the play dead, not give it an opportunity to turn into anything.
There's the free kick, and Harvey's there. And you saw Hegstad racing in there. And you see the substitutes. There's Brandy Chastain from San Jose, California, shouting encouragement from the United States bench. This is very much a collective effort. Every player on the trip has appeared in one of the games, and that's a testament to Anson Dorrance as well, to make sure that he rewards all the players with an appearance here in this World Championship.
And Randy, it's such a tight-knit group of players that have helped the United States get here. Even the players that aren't a part of the 18-man roster were brought along with the rest of the team as a sign or a signal to them to you for your involvement, because you played as much a part in this game as anybody else. Including Megan McCarthy, who injured her knee. As we have Harvey coming off the line to grab this one away from Medellin. Megan McCarthy injured her knee and put herself out of this tournament, ironically, against Norway in those matches on the East Coast this past summer. And she is here as well, cheering on her teammates. We're in the second half. It's 1-1 as we get another look here. Kind of a lackadaisical pass played back to the goalkeeper here. Not the kind of thing that you want to see your goalkeeper have to do. Go ahead and put her body down in front of the offensive player there. It's so dangerous because an injury can result so easily. Lilly with a battle to get it to the near side, and it'll go out for USA throw-in, and we will pause. It's the USA 1, Norway 1. We're at the World Championships in China. We'll be back in a moment. Randy Hunt and Rick Davis, hope you're enjoying our coverage of the World Championships of women's soccer. While we have a moment here, we'd like to thank some of the other people responsible for our telecast here from Guangzhou and from around China, as we've continued our coverage here on Sports Channel America. Jim Maroney, who's been with us here in Guangzhou and running the show. Also John Calabrese and George Smith in New York. Also our thanks to our colleagues from Guangdong Television for their pictures and their cooperation while we've been here in China. Maybe the foul that happened there was number 8 for the United States team, Linda Hamilton, coming like a freight train, making contact with the Norway player and getting called for a foul as a result. Tina Svensson, and Akerstall gets up. Now Heinrich racing over at the far side. Nyborg gets to the ball first, sends it forward for Medellin. There's Medellin again, and it'll glance off her, and Mia Hamm will clear it. Akerstall at center, headed forward for Jennings. Here's Karen, who has not had much work lately. Here is Jennings working her way back to the middle. A hat-trick in the semifinal win over Germany. Pokes it back for Higgins, and they'll start over again from midfield. Here's Hamm. Nice move to the inside. Mia Hamm, good dribble skills, but then has it partially blocked. Now the Norwegians work it far side to Medellin. And winning it in the air there was Joy Biefeld, sending it to the far side. Randy, on that last play where we saw Karen going forward, notice the difference where she ended up having 3 defenders against her, and instead of running in a direction straight at the goal, we see Karen Jennings dribbling parallel to her, which is not the way that you want to see her go. You want to see her going right at the goal, because that's where she can be most productive. Here's Higgins up for Heinrich. Now back to Jennings. Jennings forced to go to the left. It's kicked away. And it almost seems, Rick, as if one of the strategies of the Norwegian coach Pellerud was, let's not worry so much about Akerstall. Let's try and take Jennings out of the game, do what we can with Akerstall. But Jennings seems to be double and triple teamed anytime she gets the ball. Well, Michelle Akerstall is a finisher. She's the kind of player that scores the goals as a result of the efforts of other players, occasionally doing it on her own. In this particular tournament, if I'm a scout and I'm scouting the American team, I say, yeah, Karen Jennings is the person that's creating so much. She's the one to try and stop, and therefore stopping not only her scoring, but also stopping Michelle scoring as a result of creating the opportunities that Karen typically does. Did Heinrich kick that out? She did. And it will be goal kick. That deep, I thought for sure she'd get a corner there, but evidently she kicked it out untouched over the end line. Yeah, I think it actually deflected. Here we get to see something you don't see very often at this level in the game, and that is a field player taking a goal kick. 99% of the time, goalkeepers take goal kicks.
This is Medellin, number 10. She'll work it to Hegstad. And a nice move by Mia Hamm. She just sat on that ball and waited for it and made her move, and now she's got some space to work with. Here's Hamm, up to center. Long cross intended for Jennings, too far, but Heinrichs gets a good bounce. Trying to work it over to Karen, unsuccessfully. Now here's Heinrich again. She'll take a shot, and that won't reach goal.
Boy, April just is a fighter. She gets in there, she mixes it up with the other team. So important to the United States team, because even if she's disabled with the problems that she's had with her knees, she's such an important force to the United States team because of how she motivates. Motivates by her verbal commands and instructions, motivates by the way she plays. She's just an inspiration to you when you're out there playing with her.
We're at Tianyi Stadium in Guangzhou, China. A sellout crowd of 60,000 here in what is the biggest game of their lives for all these players, the World Champ of Women's Soccer, the first ever held. Norway's been in some European championships before and the informal international tournaments held in the past, but this is the first official FIFA World title.
Randy, along the sidelines, we have a little game going on in itself. Norway has 3 players warming up that have been for quite some time. The United States now has 2 players warming up. Both coaches, I think, getting players ready in anticipation of having to make a change to try and get something going.
Long pass launched out of the midfield. It was Biefeld getting under that one, and she had Lily working her way up the left side of the field, but she wasn't going to reach that one. And Ryden Seth with it now, as it has been a very carefully played second half. The score 1-1, both the goals coming in the first half, and as time continues to wind down here in the second half, the teams become more and more careful, just afraid to make that one mistake that could be the difference between winning and losing the World Championship. Warden comes across, and she'll gobble this loose ball up. Cleared to the near side, and a good attempt there by Risa to keep it in, but it's out for throw-in.
Yeah, both teams here clearly saying that as this game wears on, we're going to make sure we don't give up a goal. They really aren't trying to play the ball through and create offensive opportunities as they did in the first half. It clearly is a case of just not wanting to give up anything and then hoping that something might happen, be it a bad bounce or whatever, that would result in that opportunity for your team to score.
Risa playing it back through the middle. Medellin after it, and Higgins with a good move to sneak in behind there, and she just jumped on that opportunity to poke it away from number 10 and get it back to Harvey. There's Mary Harvey, United States goalkeeper. She was the goalkeeper of the year back in 1986 in college. Right now she's a senior management consultant working in the Bay Area, 26 years of age, as all these players are either students or have other regular jobs, although many of them have taken a lot of time off in the last year to get ready for this tournament.
Oh, it's been an incredible commitment by the women to this team, because it's not something that you can just pick up on weekends and have yourself ready to play. It is a full-time commitment by every stretch of the imagination, and in many ways, financially, some of the girls have had to suffer.
Higgins, nice ball, but up top goes the defender Nyborg, and it comes back up the middle. After it was Biefeld, but she was fouled. We'll get a free kick for the U.S. Quickly played and turned over again, and the United States on some of the quick restarts has made some mistakes, and we saw one right there.
A good smart play to get the ball back into action right away, but it doesn't do you any good if your pass goes right to the other team, because the idea of a quick restart is to catch somebody off guard. If you pass it right to them, they're not going to catch anybody off guard.
Clearly there, she caught her teammates off guard. There's Quick, too quick, as it comes out again for throw in Norway. That's Svensson. Carla Worden. Ahead to Linda Hamilton. Hamilton turns it over. But quickly gets support as Julie Fowley comes in. Fowley trying to take it back. Now crossed, but right to Biefeld. Hagen. And taken back again by Fowley. Fowley plays it up for April Heinrich. Heinrich looks for Akerstall. She's there. And a nice ball by Heinrich, but they will give offside. Flag came up on the far side. And you see some of the spectators glued here to the action as we're well into the second half here in Guangzhou.
Boy, that he decided by inches at times, and there Michelle just offside on a pass from April Heinrichs. A little bit unfortunate because that's the type of opportunity that you want to create at this particular juncture in the game, and it was a matter of inches that Michelle found herself in an offside position.
All in all, the officiating in this tournament, from all accounts, has been very good. FIFA's very pleased with it, as opposed to the Men's World Cup most recently in Italy, where the officials were criticized by FIFA officials, no less, within the tournament. They've been very happy with the work of the officials here. And interesting note, FIFA is raising the requirements as far as the age limitations for officials. The maximum age is going to drop from 50 to 45 for all officials within FIFA. And in this tournament, there are no referees who are over 40 years of age, as they are very, very cognizant of the fact that the officials must be fit, and they must be at the level which they can keep up with the play as soccer progresses and the game is faster and the athletes become stronger. The referees must also improve.
Well, two things. One is the field official, the referee that is out on the field during the course of the game, has to be able to cover the flow of play, never finding himself or herself more than 20 yards away from the action. The linesman, on the other hand, has to keep up with that last defender in order to be able to judge the offside foul or infraction in this game. And so very often you find the lines person making up and down runs along the sideline. Incredibly strenuous activity, and then they've decided that when you get to be in the 45 plus age category, that maybe you're not physically able to keep up.
The ball within the midfield area here for the last several minutes as Linda Hamilton makes a nice turn in her own zone, but then kicks it out, or did she? Actually, Baker Stahl kicked it out as she battled to try and keep that in, and now a throw in for Norway coming up. 1-1 our score. As you look at, again, part of this huge crowd, and what it in itself to the progression of women's soccer for this crowd to be so strong. 60,000 as it's crossed into the arms of Mary Harvey.
And Randy, I'll tell you, if people back home have enjoyed watching this, one of the things that the United States Soccer Federation would love to see is women's soccer in the Olympics in Atlanta. And for those people that are ambitious and feel like dropping a note to our friends at the USOC, I don't know their address offhand, but I do know that they are located in Colorado Springs. And if you want to drop them a line because you'd like to see women's soccer in the Olympics come '96, please do.
U.S. with a break now for the first time in a while. This is Christine Lilly. The shot from well in the midfield goes wide of the Norwegian goal. Clearly, U.S. soccer officials, both at the U.S. soccer level and the World Cup level, as we get another look at this shot, have been lobbying for the sport to be in the Olympics in Atlanta in 1996. But there's a lot of speculation that it must first become a spectator, or rather a demonstrator sport, before it can become a full-fledged sport. But even demonstrator status in '96 would be an accomplishment, and that's one of the efforts that United States Soccer is working on, as well as organizing the World Cup in 1994, which clearly is priority number one at this point. Ball out and a throw-in for Norway now. We are winding down here in the second half of this 1-1 tie for the World Championship. Should we end 1-1 at the end of 80 minutes, we will go to 2 10-minute overtime halves, but they will not be sudden death. We will play a full 20 minutes of extra time, and following that, if it would still be tied, we would go to the penalty kicks.
And Randy, at this particular point, both coaches have the luxury of 2 substitutions available to them, thereby being able to inject some fresh legs into the game, either late during regulation or for the start or different parts of the periods.
Medalin, bumped by Biefeld, and Joy now shielding the ball away from Medalin, perhaps hoping she'll kick it away over the end line or even near side for throwing. Instead, the U.S. turns it over. Zaborowski a shot, but this won't give Harvey trouble. Mary moving to the near post side as you see Zaborowski, another one of the youngsters in this tournament, only 20 years of age. What an experience for some of the younger players. And Rick, how does the United States look 4 years down the road from the standpoint of the type of core of players that exist right now? Will many be back, would you think?
I think that quite a few of them will be back, not only because of their abilities, but because of their age. That if you look at the oldest player, as the Norwegian team moves forward here on the attack, the oldest player on the American team is 27 years old. And a player that actually doesn't hit their prime until 28 or 29, so very easily you could have a couple of players that, in fact, would be 4 years from now in the World Cup coming, or excuse me, the World Championships in 1995.
That ball went off Worden, so now another corner kick, and at this juncture of the game, a very critical play. Here's Mary Harvey. Shannon Higgins clutching the post as Harvey organizes the defense in front of her. Zaborowski over here to take the corner kick. Into the box, and they score! Or do they? No, it's the outside of the net. Oh my, it was deceptive from here as it hit the outside on the header. Came back off the mesh and did not go in. So it's not a goal, but Stora got up there and made us nervous.
Well, here you get to see Heidi Stora clearly getting the early start on the jump, getting up there above all of the United States defenders in the area, heading the ball goal-bound, just unfortunately a little bit wide.
And out of play now, and Norway to throw it in again, as the Chinese here, as well as us, have not had a lot to cheer about in this first half, but a tense moment there as Stora had me fooled with that ball coming off the mesh. And from our vantage point high here in the stadium at Tiani, it looked good enough for a goal, but of course it was not, and we are still tied 1-1 as the ball will now change possession and come to the United States on the throw-in.
Randy, the Norwegian team has done just such a great job in getting aggressive and moving into the goal on the set plays that they've had. Corner kick there, I'm sure, caused more than a few heartbeats to skip a beat here of the American fans and loyals that are here at the game today.
Unofficially, under 5 minutes left in regulation. 1-1 the score, and a goal now would seemingly do it, but it has been even since the first half. Now up to Medalin, who has the only Norwegian goal, cleared back into the midfield. And now Song, but to the middle. Ekstad wanted it wide to the outside. Now it's Mia Hamm. Hamm launches a pass up for Heinrich, and this is one in the air by Stora. Back though comes Foudy for the U.S. Foudy number 11, and it'll be lifted back to Ryden Seth in the Norwegian penalty area.
Randy, as this game wears on, in fact, getting into the closing moments here, fitness is becoming an increasingly important factor as this game goes. And at this particular point, if I were to guess, I'd say that the American team, the American women, seem to be a little bit more fatigued than their Norwegian counterparts. Norway seemed to be a little bit fresher, a little bit quicker to the ball, and certainly in that particular case, even more aggressive.
Aker-Stahl now will draw the foul, and the United States with a free kick. It's not in lethal-type territory. Higgins will initiate it from, we'll call it 35 yards out, even a little further, 36. Here's Higgins into the box, and missed kicking. Here comes to Heinrichs on the far right side. And that will go back out for a throw-in, as Heinrichs there was a little late to reach that as the defender got there in a hurry, but a throw-in for the U.S.
Well, here we get an opportunity for the United States team to run a set play off of a throw-in. You're within scoring range on your throw-in here. I suspect what will happen is they'll throw the ball into Karen, as we see them do right there, and I think the intent was to get Karen in that one-on-one where she can cross the ball back into the middle, hopefully getting Michelle Aker-Stahl or somebody like that on the other end of it.
Worden makes up for the missed kick as she knocks down that pass. Now Higgins looks for Aker-Stahl. Michelle with a brave run upfield. Here's Aker-Stahl with a chance. Open net. She scores! Michelle Aker-Stahl may have just won a world championship for the United States. And look at that bench. They sense it. That may be enough. And Rick Davis, it just took a flash of a moment, and the game has changed.
Randy, the play hinges on one mistake by the defending team here. Norway, the defender, we just get to see the tail end of it. The pass not hard enough to get back to the goalkeeper. Michelle gets around the goalkeeper, does a fine job of controlling the ball before she shoots it into the unprotected net.
Back the other way now. Norway desperate. We are not certain, but we sense that there is under 2 minutes left unofficially as you get another look.
As far as the player is concerned there, just a horrible thing there for you to have happen. There we get to see the tail end of Michelle knocking the ball into the unprotected net. Defender's worst nightmare, not hitting the ball hard enough back to your goalkeeper.
in that particular case, oh, what a costly mistake on the replay here once again. Here's the pass. Oh, that's actually a shot at the other end of the field while we were away on the other replay.
It is 2-1. The USA leads Norway. Akersdal has both goals. She has 10 in the tournament, and the United States is now seconds away from a world championship. And what a dramatic finish as Akersdal scores late. Now the United States must hold on as Norway will pull out all the stops. It comes to the near side. This is Svensson. Svensson launches a bomb into the penalty area, and up goes Worden and confidently heads it away. It comes back to the front of the box. Foudy sending it to Akersdal, and Michelle is nowhere near midfield now. She's back there defending in numbers with all the rest.
Randy, there are only minutes, if even that, left in this game. About ready to make a substitution. Pulling, I believe, number 2 off of the field.
Zaborowski to leave, and leave Stradit, number 13, racing on, and they must not waste time here. And you see Stradit come on and quickly get into the mix of play. Throw in Norway now on the near side. Seconds left in this World Championship. The United States leading 2-1. We wait simply for the whistle, and that is it! And the United States has finally won a World Championship in soccer. Down on the field as the United States has done it. They have gone through this World Championship tournament undefeated. 6 consecutive victories, capping off for many a long effort at this final goal as they win a world title, beating Norway here in China by a score of 2-1.
I'll tell you, Randy, the players here are celebrating, and rightfully so. Not only a career-long commitment, as far as this year's been concerned, they have worked so hard, put in so much time and so much effort, so much sacrifice just to be able to get here, to have the success that they've had. Here we get to see the tail end of the pass that didn't get back to the goalkeeper. Michelle Akersdal, the woman of the moment here, puts the ball into the goal to give the United States team that all-important lead and ultimately the victory in this particular World Championship.
It is all over. The United States has won the World Championship of Women's Soccer. The final score, the USA 2, Norway 1.
And Medellin for the Norwegian team, because she did, in fact, tie the game for Norway. And I think that her efforts have been outstanding.
And for the United States, I don't think that there is any doubt here.
No doubt about it. Not just simply because she scored the goals, but certainly to score 2 in a 2-1 victory is incredibly important. But Michelle Akersdal showing why she is so important to the United States team because of her leadership, because of her goal-scoring ability. That's why she is the game's MVP.
To both players, Mars Milky Way will make a charitable donation of $1,000 on behalf of these 2 players to youth soccer in the United States. Well, Rick Davis, as they begin the closing ceremonies here in China, it caps off what has truly been a thrilling 2 weeks here in China. And for these United States women, what an accomplishment, not only to win it for themselves, but to cap off a long, long string of years and years where the United States was disregarded internationally in the sport of soccer, and now the United States is a champion in soccer.
Having been through a little bit of it myself, the United States has no respect worldwide in the sport of soccer. To have our women come down here, do as well as they did, you almost kind of sensed it from the onset of the tournament that they had one thing in mind, and that was to come away with here with a world championship, and they've accomplished that, and certainly we need to tip our hats to them.
Free kick from Shannon Higgins.
And something special in here it is, because she is on the receiving end of a beautiful cross from Shannon Higgins. Michelle jumping high in the air, able to redirect the ball at the goal and put the United States team ahead 1-0.
Randy, to say that we've got some happy people is an understatement. Joined here by certainly the player of this game, Michelle Akersdal, and the coach of the United States team, Anson Dorrance. First of all, Michelle, what can I say? How does it feel?
I feel great. I mean, I'm going to be floating on 7th heaven until 2 years from now.
As the game was going on there, certainly from my perspective, it looked like it seemed like the players were getting a little bit tired, almost like you knew that there was going to have to be a defensive lap to resolve an opportunity. How did you feel, and what did you think?
I was just waiting for our break. I knew we were going to get a goal because I knew our team is so gutsy that we weren't going to give up. So I had no doubts.
You're now a world champion. What's next? Where do you go from here?
The Olympics.
The Olympic Games in '96, right?
Yeah.
Well, certainly we hope you make it there.
Thank you.
Anson, as far as your perspective goes, the way that the game started out, it seemed a little bit testy. End of the half, you ended up having a tie. Second half came around, game had no continuity. What did you think?
Yeah, it's one of those classical World Cup finals. I mean, the best games in this championship were played in the semi, and there was no exception today. The final was, everyone was tense, we were tentative. They were a little tentative, and it was one of those midfield games where the ball was just bouncing around. Fortunately, we got the last break. Michelle stayed composed. She slotted it, but I want to say this. There was one goal in that tournament, and the United States scored it, and that was the one on Michelle's header early in the game. The other two were defensive lapses, but still a margin of victory. We scored a great goal. Each team gave away a goal, and we won, so I'm happy.
Well, I guess I was going to say that if either of you are walking away here as a world champion, happiness is something that you certainly should feel. Accomplishment is something that you both should be recognized for. Outstanding effort, Michelle, Anson, to both of you and to the rest of the team. Congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you back at stateside.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Randy, we better get out of here in a hurry. Between all the fireworks and the celebration, there's a whole lot of partying going to go on down here in China.
As the fireworks show comes to an end here, that'll do it for us from China as well. 2-1 the final over Norway for Rick Davis and our entire crew here in China. I'm Randy Hahn. So long from Guangzhou.